At Christmas dinner, my daughter-in-law gave me a mop. "Stop pretending you're sick and clean," she snapped at me. My son added, "Stop using your age as an excuse. You eat for free every day. Entertain the guests for us." That night, I packed my clothes into a suitcase and vanished, but what I did the next day left them pale with fear. 68 years. I have 68 years of life, of hard work, of giving everything for my family. And that Christmas Eve, in front of 12 people laughing and toasting with eggnog, my daughter-in-law Jessica handed me a mop wrapped in festive holiday paper. At first, I thought it was a sick joke, but when I tore off the gold paper and saw the wooden handle, the gray yarn head, and smelled the cheap chemical scent, my stomach dropped. The laughter died down. Someone coughed awkwardly. Jessica was looking at me with those bright eyes, waiting for my reaction like someone waiting for a dog to do a trick. "What is this?" I whispered. "A useful gift, Eleanor," she said, pronouncing my name as if she were spitting out a seed. "Because it's high time you stop pretending you're sick and clean this house the way it should be cleaned." The world stopped. I felt every pair of eyes fixed on me. Jessica's cousin looked down at her plate. The neighbor from across the street pretended to check his phone. My son Ryan, my only son, the boy I carried for 9 months and raised with my own 2 hands, stayed completely quiet. "Ryan," I managed to say, searching for his eyes. He stood up from the table, tall, strong, wearing that new button-down shirt I had ironed for him myself that very morning. And when he spoke, his voice sounded cold, calculated, as if he had been rehearsing those words for weeks. "Mom, my wife is right. Stop using your age as an excuse. You eat for free here every day. The absolute least you can do is entertain the guests for us. Or do you think supporting you doesn't cost money?" Every word was a dagger. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. Something inside me froze, like when water turns to ice and everything is suspended, hard, motionless. I took the mop with trembling hands, nodded my head, and stood up from the table. "Excuse me," I muttered. "I'm going to my room." No one stopped me. I walked down that hallway I had paced 1,000 times over the last 3 years. I walked past the family portraits where I was still smiling. I went into that tiny room at the back of the house, the one that used to be a storage pantry, the only space they had allowed me to occupy when I was widowed and my son offered to let me live with them. "We need you, Mom," Ryan had said, with tears in his eyes when his father died. "You can't stay alone. Come with us. We're family. Family." I closed the door and looked around. A twin bed pushed against the wall, a nightstand holding my silver cross necklace, and a photo of my late husband, Tom. A tiny closet where my clothes hung tightly packed. On the walls, there were damp water stains that no one had ever bothered to fix because that room wasn't a priority. 3 years living there, 3 years being invisible. And that night, while outside they continued to toast and laugh as if nothing had happened, I pulled my old suitcase out of the closet. That worn fabric suitcase I had used on my honeymoon 46 years ago when Tom took me to Key West and we danced on the beach until the sun came up. I began to fold my clothes slowly, carefully. Every garment was a memory. The sweater I wore when Ryan was born, the blouse I wore to his college graduation, the cashmere shawl Tom gave me for our 25th anniversary. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness. They were shaking from rage, because as I folded, I remembered every slight, every comment, every look of disdain I had endured since I set foot in that house. I remembered when Jessica forbade me from using the living room. "It's for guests, not for you to sit there with your knitting." I remembered when she yelled at me because I used her shampoo. "That costs $35, Eleanor. Use the one that's on sale." I remembered when she made me eat in the kitchen because in the dining room, only those of us who work get to eat. I remembered Ryan watching all of this and staying silent. And suddenly, as I was tossing my toothbrush into a bag, something fell from the top shelf of the closet. A rusted tin box I had completely forgotten about, the box where I kept important documents. I opened it. Inside were yellowed papers, old photographs, receipts, and a manila envelope with the seal of a notary public. I opened it with trembling fingers. Property deeds. Deeds to a plot of land in North Dallas. The land my parents had left me when they died 30 years ago. The land that got tied up in endless probate courts and legal battles because my brother had fought the inheritance. And I, exhausted and focused entirely on my own family, had simply forgotten about it. How many years had that land sat abandoned? I didn't know, but as I read those papers, something ignited in my chest. A spark, a question. What if that land still existed? What if it was worth something? I put the documents in my purse. I finished packing. It was 2:00 the morning when I zipped the suitcase shut and sat on the bed one last time. Outside, everything was silent. The guests had gone home. Ryan and Jessica were surely sleeping in their king-size bed, in their master bedroom with the central air conditioning running, in their world where I didn't matter. I put on my coat, grabbed my suitcase, slung my purse over my shoulder, and walked out. I didn't leave a note. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't make a sound when I closed the door. I simply vanished. As I walked down the empty suburban street, pulling my suitcase over the cold pavement, I looked back only once. The house was dark. The Christmas lights blinked in the window as if everything were perfect, but I knew the truth. And in that moment, under the stars of that early Christmas morning, I swore I would never be invisible again. If this story has touched your heart so far, subscribe to the channel to keep discovering real testimonies of life, resilience, and dignity, because no one deserves to be treated as less than. And now, let me tell you what happened after that night, and what I discovered the next day that made my son and daughter-in-law tremble with fear. What I found was more than just a forgotten piece of land. I walked 4 blocks before my legs gave out. I sat down on a bus stop bench, gasping for air as if I had just run a marathon. The suitcase at my feet, the December chill biting into my bones, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt something I had forgotten. Freedom. It hurt, God, how it hurt. But it was mine. I pulled out my cell phone with shaking hands. 3 a.m. Who could I call at this hour? My friends from the old neighborhood hadn't reached out to me in years. Ryan had taken care of isolating me little by little. Mom, those ladies just gossip. Mom, it's better if you stay home. It's already dark. Jessica had been more direct. If you're going to go out, let me know. I don't want you being a busybody, telling people how we live here. I dialed the only number I knew by heart. My younger sister, Sue. She answered on the 5th ring, her voice groggy and alarmed. Hello? Who is this? It's me, Sue. Silence. Then a sharp gasp. Eleanor? What happened? Are you okay? Did they do something to you? My voice broke. I need a place to stay. Where are you? On Maple Street, right outside Ryan's subdivision. Don't move. I'm coming to get you. Sue arrived 20 minutes later in her old red Honda Civic, the same one her husband Gary had bought her 15 years ago. She got out of the car like a storm wrapped in a floral bathrobe, her hair a mess. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I swear to God I'm going to kill that son of yours, she whispered in my ear. I didn't answer, because right then, if I had spoken, I would have completely fallen apart. The drive to her house was silent. Sue lived on the other side of the city, in Oak Cliff, a more modest neighborhood, but full of life. Narrow streets, brightly painted houses, dogs barking in the backyards. The exact opposite of the gated Frisco community where Ryan lived, with its perfectly manicured lawns and security gates. When we arrived, Gary already had hot coffee waiting. He sat me down at their kitchen table, draped a blanket over my shoulders, and didn't ask any questions. He just squeezed my hand. You're safe here, Eleanor. Sue sat across from me, her eyes shining with contained fury. Tell me everything, and do not dare defend him. So I spoke. I told her about the last 3 years. Not just the humiliation of that night, but everything else. The scraps of food they gave me while they ordered $200 sushi delivery. The times Jessica searched my closet to make sure I wasn't stealing. The day I got sick and Ryan told me, if you go to the doctor, you pay for it yourself. We aren't your health insurance. I told her how I woke up at 5:00 the morning to clean the house before they woke up. How I cooked, washed, ironed. How once Jessica threw all my food out of the fridge because it takes up too much space and smells gross. I told her I hadn't bought new clothes in months, that my shoes had holes in them, that I had sold my gold earrings to pay for medicine when I got the flu, and Ryan refused to give me a dime. I became their maid, Sue. And the worst part is, I allowed it. Sue slammed her hand on the table so hard the coffee mugs jumped. I always knew that Viper was using you from the day I met her, with her fake nails and expensive perfume. But Ryan breaks my heart. I changed his diapers when you were working double shifts. I took care of him when he had chickenpox. And this is how he repays you, Gary intervened, his voice calm. The important thing right now is that Eleanor is okay. There will be time to settle the score later. But Sue wasn't finished. Eleanor, do you remember the land? I froze. What land? Mom and Dad's. The one they left you in the inheritance. You never sold it. The manila envelope. The papers in my purse. I forgot about it. There were legal problems with Bob. And then I got married, had Ryan, devoted myself to my family, and I just forgot that I had something of my own, I said. Sue finished my thought. Eleanor, that land is in Collin County. Do you know what's happened up there over the last few years? I shook my head. It's the biggest commercial real estate boom in the state. They've built luxury malls, high-rise apartments, corporate offices. That land you inherited, if it's still in your name, is worth a fortune. My heart skipped a beat. But the probate never finished. Bob fought for his share. Bob died 5 years ago, Eleanor, and when he died, his share automatically reverted to the surviving heirs. That means you and me. But since you were the primary heir in the original will, and if no one else staked a claim, that land is yours. My hands were shaking. I pulled the papers out of my purse and spread them across the table. Sue read them carefully, running her fingers over the faded ink. We have to go see a lawyer tomorrow. Mr. Sterling, the one who worked with your husband. Arthur Sterling is still practicing. He's 80 years old, but he's sharp as a tack and he knows you. Trust him. That night, I slept in Sue's guest room. A soft bed, a window with clean curtains, a nightstand with a little reading lamp. So different from that dark storage closet where I had spent 1,000 nights feeling like an intruder. But I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, remembering how Ryan had changed since he married Jessica, how his visits became scarce after the wedding, how, when Tom died and I was left alone in that big empty house, Ryan showed up with the perfect solution. Come live with us, Mom. You can't stay alone. We need you. Did they need me? Or did they need someone to clean their house for free? I remembered something else, something that hadn't seemed strange at the time, but now made perfect sense. 6 months after I moved in with them, Jessica started asking questions about my financial situation, about whether Tom had left me anything, whether I had properties or savings. Just curious, Eleanor. We just want to help you if you need anything. I, so innocent, had told her everything. That the house where I lived with Tom had been sold to pay off his medical debts, that his savings had vanished into treatments, that I only had my Social Security check of $1,200 a month. I never mentioned the land because I had truly forgotten it. What if they believed I had absolutely nothing? What if that was why they dared to treat me that way? An idea began to form in my head. Dark, twisted, but just, what would happen if they discovered I did have something? That I wasn't the useless old woman they thought I was. I got out of bed, grabbed the papers again, and read them line by line under the light of my cell phone. And there it was, in the corner of the document. A handwritten note from my father, written in blue ink 30 years ago. For my daughter, Eleanor. May this land give her the freedom she so deeply deserves. Dad. He always knew I would need something of my own, something no one could take away from me. I turned off the light, lay down, and for the first time in years, I slept without that heavy weight on my chest. Because one thing was clear. My life was about to change. The next day, when I walked into Arthur Sterling's law office, I never imagined the news would be far bigger than I expected. And I certainly never imagined that my son had already been there, digging for information about me. Mr. Sterling's office was on the second floor of an old downtown Dallas building, the kind with worn marble stairs and solid oak doors. Sue walked up with me, holding my arm as if she feared I might faint. I wasn't nervous. I was hungry. Hungry for answers, for justice, for knowing that my life hadn't just been a waste of years serving people who didn't value me. The receptionist, a young woman in trendy glasses, sent us in immediately. Mr. Sterling stood up from his desk with effort, leaning on an elegant cane. 80 years old, but his gaze was still as sharp as a knife. Eleanor Mitchell, he said in a gravelly voice. How many years has it been? Too many, Mr. Sterling. I sat across from him. Sue stood nearby, fidgeting nervously. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and extended his hand. Let's see those documents. I handed him the manila envelope. He opened it slowly, with reverence, like someone opening an ancient book. His eyes scanned the deeds, the seals, the signatures. 5 minutes passed in absolute silence, broken only by the ticking of a wall clock and the rustling of paper. Finally, he placed the documents on his desk and looked right at me. "Eleanor, do you know what you have here? A plot of land my parents left me, but the probate never finished because of issues with my brother Bob. Bob passed away 5 years ago, intestate. His rights automatically defaulted to the legal heirs of the original estate, namely, you and Sue. But since you were the primary designated heir by your parents, and Sue never claimed her portion, because I didn't need anything," my sister interrupted. "That land was always meant for Eleanor." Mr. Sterling nodded. "The title is completely clear, and in your name, Eleanor." The statute of limitations on any other claims expired 3 years ago through quiet title. It is legally, totally, absolutely yours. My heart was beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. "And is it worth anything?" Mr. Sterling pulled a blue folder from his filing cabinet, opened it, and showed me maps, recent appraisals, satellite photos. "That land is right off the Dallas North Tollway, 2 blocks from the new Legacy West shopping district. It's about 1.5 acres, commercial zoning. In that specific corridor, land is currently valuing at around $55 per square foot." I tried to do the math in my head. Sue did it faster. $3.5 million, she whispered. The room started to spin. "That can't be." "It certainly can, Mr. Sterling said with a small smile. "And there's more." "More?" "Your husband, Tom, was a forward-thinking man. When I worked with him years ago, we didn't just draft his will. He also set up several mutual funds and a trust in your name at the bank. Long-term investments that matured 10 years after his death. Tom died 11 years ago." "Exactly. Those investments matured a year ago. I sent certified letters to the address where you lived with your son, but I never received a response. My blood ran cold." "What letters?" 3 certified letters. "The last one was 4 months ago, informing you that you had $1,200,000 waiting in a trust account." Sue dropped into a chair. My God. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe, because suddenly, everything made terrifying sense. "Mr. Sterling, did my son Ryan come to see you?" The lawyer frowned. "Yes. 4 months ago, right after the last letter. He said he was coming on your behalf because you were in poor health. He wanted to know about your financial situation." "And what did you tell him?" "Nothing. I explained that attorney-client privilege meant I could only give that information directly to you. He got angry, insisted, threatened me with lawsuits. But I was very clear. Those documents are confidential. Only you could access them." The puzzle pieces snapped together. 4 months ago, exactly when the treatment in the house escalated, when Jessica started being cruel, when Ryan stopped looking me in the eye, when the passive-aggressive comments about the burden of supporting me started, they knew. They didn't know the exact dollar amounts, but they knew I had something, and they wanted me to stay right there, submissive, grateful, invisible, until I died, so they could inherit it all. "Eleanor, are you okay?" Sue asked, shaking my arm. "Yes, I am." I took a deep breath. "I'm perfect." I stood up and walked over to the window. From there, I could see the downtown traffic, people rushing by, living their lives. And I, who had believed I was finished, out of options, completely worthless, had almost $4.7 million waiting for me. "Arthur, what do I need to access that money?" "Your ID and some signatures. The bank transfer takes about a week. The land is already yours, but if you want to sell it, I can contact interested buyers immediately. I have 3 commercial developers who have been practically begging for property in that corridor. You could have the cash in a month." I turned around and looked at both of them. "I want to sell it. And I want absolutely nobody to know about this yet." Sue smiled. It was a smile I knew well, the same one she used to get when we were kids planning some mischief. "What are you thinking, sis?" "I'm thinking that my son and my daughter-in-law believed I was poor, weak, and useless, and it is time to show them exactly who I really am." Mr. Sterling leaned back in his leather chair, his eyes gleaming with amusement. "Tom told me once that when you set your mind to something, you would move heaven and earth." I see he wasn't lying. My husband knew me well. I signed papers for 2 hours. Authorizations. power of attorney for the sale. In a week, you'll have full access to your trust, Eleanor. And in a month, if the land sale goes smoothly, you will be an incredibly wealthy woman. We walked out of the office when the sun was high in the sky. Sue hugged me right there on the sidewalk, not caring who was looking. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that bastard Ryan treated you like that knowing you had money. He didn't know how much. That's why he went to pry. And now, what are you going to do? I stood there thinking. The cold December wind brushed my face. In the distance, a food truck was selling BBQ brisket. A young couple walked by holding hands. Life went on for everyone. And now, it was going to go on for me, too. First, I'm going to rest. Process all of this. Then, I am going to teach them that the worst decision they ever made was underestimating a wounded mother. Sue looked at me with concern. Don't do anything crazy, Eleanor. I'm not going to do anything illegal, Sue. I'm just going to teach them a lesson they will never forget. That night, back at my sister's house, I sat in the guest room with my cell phone in my hand. I had 52 missed calls from Ryan, 38 text messages. I read them all. The first ones were angry. Where are you? Stop causing drama and come back to the house. This is ridiculous. It's Christmas and you're making us look bad. If you don't come back, don't ever ask for help again. Then they shifted to fake concern. Mom, we're worried. Are you okay? It doesn't matter what happened. It's Christmas. Come back and we'll talk. Jessica feels bad about what she said. It was just the stress of the dinner. And the last ones were pure manipulation. Mom, if you don't come back, we're going to have to file a missing persons report. You're putting us in a really difficult position. People are asking questions. Are you seriously going to do this to us after everything we've done for you? I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I opened my camera and took a selfie. I was sitting on a comfortable bed, holding a hot cup of tea, a cozy blanket draped over my shoulders. I looked tired, yes, but calm, at peace. I sent the photo to Ryan with one single message. I am fine. Do not look for me. His reply came seconds later. Where are you? We need to talk. I turned off the phone. I had nothing to say to him. Not yet. First, I needed to recover, to heal, to prepare. And when I was ready, when I held all the cards, then I would show them what it feels like when someone you love turns their back on you. But what I didn't know was that Ryan and Jessica wouldn't just sit on their hands, and what they did next was the straw that broke the camel's back. 3 days passed, 3 days where I didn't answer a single call, 3 days of Ryan bombing my phone with increasingly desperate messages, 3 days where, for the first time in years, I slept through the night without waking up with an anxiety attack. Sue treated me like I was made of glass. She made me breakfast, walked with me in the park, lent me her clothes because I had only packed the basics. Gary never asked questions. He just squeezed my shoulder whenever he walked by and said, "Make yourself at home, Eleanor." But peace never lasts when there are people who can't stand losing control over you. On the 4th day, Sue walked into my room, phone in hand, her face completely drained of color. Eleanor, you have to see this. She showed me her Facebook. Jessica had made a public post. It featured a photo of me, the photo someone had snapped at Christmas dinner, right before they handed me the mop. I was sitting at the table, a serious expression on my face, my shoulders slumped. I looked exactly like what I was, a tired, aging, invisible woman. The caption read, "It's so hard to share this, but I need to vent." My mother-in-law abandoned our home on Christmas Eve without a word. We took her in for 3 years with nothing but love. We gave her a roof, food, and care. But when we asked her to just pitch in with some household chores, something normal in any family, she got offended and left. Now we don't know where she is. If anyone sees her, please let us know. We are sick with worry. Number toxic family, number mother-in-law drama, number Chris's heartbreak. It had 143 comments. I scrolled through some of them. Most were supporting Jessica. "Oh, honey, that's awful. Mothers-in-law are always so much drama. That generation thinks they're entitled to everything. You did so much putting up with her for 3 years. I couldn't have done it." But there were others. People defending me. "Wait a minute. I was at that dinner. Aren't you going to mention that you gave her a mop as a Christmas gift in front of everybody? Are we seriously supposed to believe a woman pushing 70 just left on a whim?" Something else happened. I know that family. That poor woman worked like a mule in that house, and they never treated her right. Sue was furious. That little snake is trying to make you look crazy, like you're the problem. I didn't say anything. I just kept reading. Because among all those comments, one caught my eye. It was from Martha, my neighbor from the old subdivision, the lady who owned the local florist where I used to buy flowers for Tom's grave. Jessica, I've known Eleanor for 30 years. She is one of the kindest women I've ever met. If she left your house, it was because she had a damn good reason, and that mop stunt was a disgrace that everyone saw. Don't try to play the victim now. I felt a warmth in my chest. There were still people who remembered me, who knew who I really was. Are you going to reply? Sue asked. No. What do you mean, no? She's dragging your name through the mud. Let her talk. Let her say whatever she wants. When the time comes, everyone will know the truth. But Sue was right about one thing. Jessica wasn't going to stop. And neither was Ryan. That very afternoon, my son showed up at Sue's house. Gary answered the door. I was in the bedroom, but I could hear everything. The walls in that house were thin. I need to see my mom, Ryan said. His voice was tense, controlled. She's not available, Gary replied firmly. She's my mother. I have a right to see her. She'll decide when she wants to see you. Respect that. You don't understand. My wife is a wreck over this. People are talking. We need to fix this. What you need is to take a hard look at how you treated her. There was a long silence. Then, Ryan's tone shifted. It dropped lower, more dangerous. Tell her that if she doesn't come back, we're going to have to take legal action. Sue appeared in the hallway at that exact moment. I heard her voice ring out. Legal action? What legal action, Ryan? Your mother doesn't owe you a dime. She didn't steal anything. She didn't do anything wrong. She left because you and that woman treated her like garbage. You don't know what happened in my house, Aunt Sue. I know you gave her a mop for Christmas. I know you humiliated her in front of everyone. I know you treated her like the hired help. Do you want me to keep going? My wife was stressed out. It was a misunderstanding, Ryan yelled, losing his composure. A misunderstanding that lasted 3 years? Sue's voice was absolute ice. My mother is acting like a spoiled child, all over a stupid gift. It's ridiculous. What's ridiculous is that you still don't understand why she left. Now get off my porch before I call the cops. This isn't over, Ryan spat. You're right. It's not. I heard the front door slam, the sound of Ryan's boots stomping down the porch steps, the roar of his truck engine starting. Sue walked into my room. Her eyes were red, but not from crying, from absolute fury. That boy is lost, Eleanor. Completely lost. I got up from the bed and walked to the window. From there, I could see Ryan's truck pulling away. A brand new black Ford F-150 Platinum Edition with chrome wheels. He bought it 6 months ago. $5,000 down payment, he had told me. But it's worth it, Mom. In my line of work, you have to project a good image. A good image. While I wore shoes with holes in the soles and ate leftovers. Sue, can I borrow your laptop? What for? I need to look something up. Half an hour later, I was scrolling through Jessica's entire digital footprint. Not just Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. This woman documented her entire life on the internet, and what I found made my blood run cold. Photos at high-end steakhouses. Date night with hubby. Photos at luxury gyms. Self-care because I deserve it. Designer hauls. Treating myself. Photos at day spas, upscale salons, weekend trips to the beach, all while they told me money was too tight to buy me a new pair of sneakers. But there was something else. Something that caught my eye. In her Instagram story highlights, there was a folder titled Our Home. I clicked it. There were photos of the inside of Ryan's house. The living room I wasn't allowed to sit in. The dining room I couldn't eat in. The kitchen with the stainless steel appliances. And one photo in particular shattered my soul. It was my room. The storage closet where I slept. But the caption over it read, Future Project. Turning this space into my dream walk-in closet. Should be empty soon. Should be empty soon. They were waiting for me to die, or waiting to kick me out. Sue read it over my shoulder and gasped. That bitch was planning to throw you out. I closed the laptop. I stared at the blank wall, and right then, something inside me shifted fundamentally. I didn't feel sad anymore. I didn't feel pain. I felt fury, a cold, calculated, lethal fury. Sue, I'm doing something tomorrow. What? I'm renting an apartment. Why? You're fine here with us. Because I need my own space. And because I need Ryan and Jessica to believe I truly am rock bottom. That I left because I have nowhere else to go. That I am completely vulnerable. Sue narrowed her eyes. What are you plotting? Justice, sister, just justice. That night, before I went to sleep, I checked my phone. I had a new text from Ryan. It wasn't threatening, nor was it full of fake concern. It was blunt. Mom, I know you're at Aunt Sue's. I just need you to know something. The mortgage on the house is $650,000. If we don't pay the arrears in 3 months, it goes into foreclosure. Jess and I have done everything we can, but we're drowning. I thought maybe you could help us. I know Dad left you something. We just need a loan. We'd pay you back as soon as we get back on our feet. Please, Mom. We're family. I read the message 3 times, and then I let out a laugh. A bitter, dry laugh that surprised even me. There it was. The naked truth. They didn't want me back because they missed me. They wanted me back because they needed my money. I replied calmly, choosing every word carefully. Ryan, when you handed me that mop, you showed me that to you. My only value is what I can do for you. Now you text me because you need money. Do you see the pattern? I am not your mother. I am your resource. And I regret to inform you that resource has dried up. Solve your own problems. I hit send, turned off the phone, and for the first time in 3 years, I went to sleep with a smile on my face. Checkmate, I thought. But what I didn't know was that Ryan, pushed to desperation, would make a move that changed the entire game. And when I found out what he did, I knew there was no going back. The apartment I rented was in a quiet neighborhood, miles away from Ryan's gated suburb. It was small, 1 bedroom, a little living area connected to the kitchen, a full bathroom. Nothing luxurious, but it was mine. The walls were painted white. The windows looked out over a neighborhood park where kids played in the afternoons, and for the first time in years, I could breathe without feeling like someone was watching me. I moved in with the few things I had. Sue helped me buy some basics: plates, sheets, a coffee maker. She insisted on gifting me a ceramic cross to hang by the front door. To protect you, she said, hugging me tight. I hadn't told her about the money yet. Not all of it. I wanted to keep everything under wraps until the exact right moment. A week after I moved in, Arthur Sterling called me. Eleanor, get down to my office. There is something you need to see. His voice was grave, laced with heavy concern. I arrived that same afternoon. Mr. Sterling was waiting with a blue folder on his desk. He looked older than the last time I saw him, as if something heavy was resting on his shoulders. Sit down, please. I sat. My heart was already racing. What's going on, Arthur? He opened the folder and pulled out some legal documents. They were copies of official petitions, stamped by the county court. Ryan came back 2 days ago. This time, he brought a lawyer. They attempted to file a petition for a conservatorship over you. The word hit me like a physical punch. Conservatorship. They tried to have you declared mentally incompetent to manage your own finances. They argued that you have severe cognitive decline, dementia, and that you abandoned your home and wandered off for no rational reason. The goal was for Ryan to be appointed your legal guardian, giving him total control over your assets. The room started to spin. But I am perfectly fine. My mind is fine. I know. That's why I shut the petition down immediately. I intervened as your counsel and warned his attorney that if they pushed this any further, I would countersue them for fraud and malicious prosecution. But Eleanor, this is serious. Your son is desperate, and a desperate person is capable of anything. My hands were shaking. I hid them under the desk. Why is he so desperate? Mr. Sterling pulled out more papers, bank statements, public records, credit reports. I did a little digging of my own, utilizing my resources as your attorney. The house Ryan lives in has a $650,000 mortgage. They are 4 months behind on payments. The bank has already initiated pre-foreclosure proceedings. If they don't catch up in 2 months, the house goes on the auction block, he told me. He asked me for money. There's more. Jessica has $65,000 in maxed-out credit card debt. They are red-flagged across all credit bureaus as extremely high-risk borrowers. 3 months ago, they applied for a personal debt consolidation loan and were outright denied. Every word was another piece of the puzzle falling perfectly into place. "So, when did the abuse get worse?" I asked quietly. "According to my files, I sent the first notice regarding your trust funds 8 months ago. Ryan came into my office asking questions 4 months ago." "Did the mistreatment escalate during that window?" I closed my eyes. I remembered. The worst humiliation started about 6 months ago. The comments about me being a financial burden, the food restrictions, culminating in the Christmas mop. Yes, it all got worse in those months, because they knew you had money coming to you, but they couldn't access it without your signature. They tried to keep you submissive, broken down, dependent, so you'd sign whatever they put in front of you. And when that didn't work when you left, they panicked. Mr. Sterling took off his glasses and looked me dead in the eye. "Eleanor, you need to protect yourself legally, right now." "How?" "First, we draw up an ironclad new will, one that states unequivocally that you are of sound mind and acting entirely under your own free will. Second, we bring in independent medical professionals to certify your cognitive state. And third, we close the sale on that land as fast as humanly possible before Ryan tries to file an injunction to freeze your assets. Can he do that? He can try. He can file frivolous lawsuits that tie the money up in court for years. That's why we have to move fast." I spent 3 hours in that office. I signed documents, gave recorded, sworn statements. Mr. Sterling brought in 2 independent witnesses, a licensed psychiatrist and a clinical social worker who evaluated me right there to legally certify my mental competency. When we finished, I was exhausted, but I felt an immense wave of relief. "The land is sold," Mr. Sterling said as he filed the paperwork away. The commercial developer accepted the counteroffer. $3.5 million. "The funds will wire to your account in a week, and Tom's trust funds are fully liquid. You just need to go to the bank and sign the transfer." That's another $1.2 million. $4.7 million. It was more money than I had ever conceptualized in my entire life. "Arthur, do you know what I'm going to do with this?" He smiled tiredly. "No. What are you going to do?" "I am going to live. I am going to live with dignity. And I am going to teach my son and that woman that a mother's love cannot be bought, cannot be begged for, and absolutely will not be trampled on." "Tom would be damn proud of you," he said. I walked out of the office just as the sun was setting. Downtown Dallas was bustling with people leaving work, the smell of street food, the roar of city buses, but I felt like I was floating. For the first time in years, my future depended entirely on me. I got back to my apartment and made myself a cup of tea. I sat on the small sofa Sue had helped me pick out, and I opened my phone. I had new text messages from Ryan. They were no longer pleading, they were thinly veiled threats. "Mom, I know that lawyer Sterling is putting ideas in your head. He just wants a cut of your money. Don't trust strangers, trust your family. Jess is having a nervous breakdown over this. She had to go see a therapist. If something happens to her, it's on you. People in the neighborhood are asking about you. They're saying horrible things. Is this what you want, to destroy our family's name?" I blocked his number. But I didn't block Martha, my old neighbor from the florist shop. She had texted me too. "Eleanor, I don't know if you'll see this, but you need to know. Ryan was driving around the old neighborhood asking if anyone knew where you were. He looked frantic. He kept asking if you had any wealthy friends who might be hiding you or bankrolling you. I told him I didn't know anything, but it gave me a really bad feeling. Please be careful." I replied, "Thanks, Martha. I'm safe. Don't worry, I know how to take care of myself now." I couldn't sleep that night, not from anxiety, but from pure, unadulterated anger. My son, the boy I had rocked to sleep, who I nursed through pneumonia when he was 5. The boy I fed with the money I made cleaning other people's houses when Tom was just starting out. That son was trying to have me declared legally insane so he could rob me. It wasn't sadness I felt anymore. It was a deep, painful, irreparable disappointment. But it also brought absolute clarity, because now I knew there was no going back. There was no reconciliation. There was no family left to save. There was only a mother who needed to defend herself, and a lesson that desperately needed to be taught. I got out of bed, went to the kitchen, grabbed a legal pad and a pen, and started writing. It wasn't a plan for revenge, it was a blueprint for justice. Phase 1. Secure all assets in private wealth accounts that Ryan cannot trace or touch. Phase 2. Rebuild my life, with dignity, far away from toxic people. Phase 3. When the time is right, when Ryan and Jessica are standing at the absolute edge of the cliff, then and only then, I show them exactly who I am. Not to destroy them, but to make them learn. I closed the notebook, turned off the light, and went to sleep with the certainty that the game was just beginning. But while I was planning in silence, Ryan and Jessica crossed a line I never thought they would. And when I found out what they were telling people, I knew the time for waiting was over. The money hit my bank account on a Tuesday morning. I was sipping coffee in my little kitchen when my phone buzzed with a notification from the bank app. Incoming wire transfer, $4,700,000. I stared at the screen for 5 full minutes. The numbers looked fake, like they would vanish if I blinked, but they didn't. I called Mr. Sterling immediately. Arthur, the money is there. Perfect. Now listen to me closely, Eleanor. Diversify those funds immediately. Do not keep it all in one institution. Set up meetings with private wealth managers at top-tier banks. You need corporate protection. Protection? If Ryan tries to litigate, we want a paper trail showing that your assets are being professionally managed by major U.S. institutions, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are of sound mind and in total control of your estate. I followed his instructions to the letter. That same afternoon, I walked into a major wealth management firm. I was attended to by a polished young financial advisor who, upon verifying the balance, completely changed his posture. Mrs. Mitchell, it would be an absolute honor to handle your portfolio. Have you considered our conservative growth trust options? 3 hours later, I walked out with everything structured perfectly. $2.5 million in a diversified index portfolio, $1 million in high-yield savings, $1 million in a liquid investment account, and $200,000 in a checking account for daily living and emergencies. I felt powerful, not because of the money itself, but because of the absolute security that freedom provided. I walked over to a high-end shopping district nearby. It had been years since I walked into a store without looking at the price tags, years since I bought something just because I liked it. I walked into an upscale boutique. A saleswoman approached with a professional smile. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Looking for anything in particular?" "Yes," I said. "I'm looking to dress like the woman I actually am, not the woman people tried to make me believe I was." She blinked, a bit confused, but then a knowing smile spread across her face. "I understand perfectly. Come with me." I walked out of there with 4 shopping bags, new, tailored clothes, shoes that were both comfortable and elegant, a beautiful burgundy wool coat. I spent $1,500 without batting an eye. Then I went to a high-end salon. I told them to chop off the long, neglected hair I had worn in a messy bun for years. The stylist, a young woman with purple highlights, gave me a look. "How about a sleek, shoulder-length bob? Give you a fresh, modern edge?" "Do it." 2 hours later, I walked out with a chic, modern haircut, the grays perfectly blended into a soft silver blonde, feeling 30 years younger. Riding the elevator back up to my apartment, I caught my reflection in the mirrored doors, and I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. That woman had her shoulders pulled back, her gaze was steady. She had a subtle, confident smile. That woman no longer asked for permission to exist. The following days were about rebuilding. I joined a book club that met on Thursdays at the local public library. That's where I met Helen, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher with a razor-sharp wit and a contagious laugh. "Eleanor, right? Sue told me about you," she said as we drank coffee after the meeting. "You know my sister? Known her for years. She told me what you went through. And let me tell you something, honey, any boy who treats his mother like that doesn't deserve the name you gave him." I liked her immediately. It was Helen who, 2 weeks later, gave me the piece of information that triggered my endgame. We were at her house, drinking chamomile tea and eating oatmeal cookies, when her face turned serious. "Eleanor, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise me you won't do anything rash." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" "Jessica has been running her mouth. Saying really nasty things." "Like what?" Helen pulled out her iPhone and opened a neighborhood WhatsApp group. It was the HOA chat for the Frisco subdivision where Ryan lived. I had lived there for 3 years, but they had never bothered to add me to the group. She scrolled until she found Jessica's messages from 3 days ago. "Hey ladies, I really need some advice. My mother-in-law stole money from us and vanished. We've been trying to reach her, but she blocked us on everything. We're considering filing a police report for theft. Does anyone know a good lawyer who handles family fraud?" I felt my blood boil. I read the replies. "OMG, Jess, that's horrible. How much did she take? Mothers-in-law are the worst, I swear. I know a great civil litigator. I'll DM you his info." But there were other messages too. Surprising ones. "Jessica, I've seen how you treated your mill. I really doubt she's the villain here. Wait, aren't you the one who gave her a literal mop for Christmas in front of half the block? My husband was at that dinner." "If she left, I don't blame her," Jessica had replied frantically. "You guys don't know the whole story. Eleanor is a master manipulator. She faked being sick so she wouldn't have to help out, and she bled us dry financially." Helen pulled the phone away. "That's enough. You don't need to read anymore. She's claiming you robbed them, and half the subdivision isn't buying it. But Eleanor, this is serious. If she actually files a false police report, let her," I said. Helen stared at me. "Excuse me? Let her file it. Let her talk. Because when the time comes, I am going to prove to everyone exactly who the real liar is. Do you have proof?" I smiled. A cold smile that surprised even me. "I have something better. I have the truth, and I have the capital to back it up." That night, back in my apartment, I pulled out the legal pad where I had written my plan. I added a new line. Phase 4. Let them hang themselves. Do not intervene. Just watch. Because I had realized something crucial. Ryan and Jessica were so financially desperate that they were making sloppy public mistakes. Mistakes that revealed them for exactly what they were, bankrupt manipulators. The next day, Sue called me, frantic. "Eleanor, Ryan came to my house and threatened me. What did he say?" "He said if I didn't tell him where you were, he'd sue me for aiding and abetting." I told him to go to hell, and Gary almost threw him off the porch. "He's panicking, Eleanor. Are you okay?" "I am perfect, Sue. Better than ever." "Eleanor, that tone of voice scares me. Don't be scared. Just trust me." I hung up and looked out the window. Kids were playing in the park. An older couple was walking their golden retriever. Life was moving forward, oblivious to personal dramas. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Mitchell. My name is David Vance, attorney representing your son, Ryan Mitchell. I would like to schedule a mediation to discuss family reconciliation and pending financial matters. Can we arrange a meeting?" So they had hired a lawyer. I forwarded the text to Mr. Sterling. His reply came 2 minutes later. "Do not reply. All communication goes through me. I'll handle him." I slept soundly that night, knowing Ryan was doing exactly what I anticipated, flailing in a panic, leaving a paper trail of his desperation. While he was sinking, I was rising. I had gone from the invisible burden to a woman with immense resources, dignity, and a master plan. And the best part? They had absolutely no idea what was coming. But then, Ryan made a move so low, so pathetic, that I knew no redemption was possible, and it was in that moment I decided it was time to teach the lesson. The message came on a Friday afternoon, not from Ryan, but from a number I recognized immediately, even though I hadn't seen her in years. My late husband's sister, Carol, calling from Austin. "Eleanor, I need to talk to you. It's an emergency. Please call me." Carol and I used to be close, but distance and time had created a drift after Tom died. Why was she texting now? I dialed her number, feeling a knot of suspicion. "Carol? Oh, Eleanor. Thank God you answered." Her voice was trembling. "I have to tell you something. Ryan called me yesterday." My blood ran cold. "What did he tell you?" "He told me you're very sick, that you have advanced dementia, and you wandered away from the house. He said they're desperately searching for you because you need your medication and 2 4-hour care. He begged me to call him the second I heard from you." I closed my eyes and took a long, deep breath. "Carol, did you believe him?" A long pause. At first, yes. I was terrified. But then I started thinking, if Eleanor is really wandering the streets with dementia, why hasn't Ryan filed a silver alert? Why aren't the police involved? So I called you directly to find out the truth. The truth is that I am in perfect health, Carol. What I have is my dignity back. I told her everything. I left nothing out. The mop, the abuse, the conservatorship attempt, the lies. Carol listened in stunned silence, and when I finished, I heard her sobbing softly. Tom would be turning in his grave if he knew this. He adored Ryan, but he worshipped you. He used to say, "Eleanor is the strongest woman I know. She just acts soft so she doesn't hurt anyone." Your brother knew me well. What are you going to do? Something I should have done a long time ago. Put myself first. Carol, thank you for checking. If you need anything, Eleanor, anything at all. I'm a 4-hour drive away. I appreciate it, Carol. But I'm good. Better than ever. I hung up. Ryan was calling our extended family, planting the seed that I was insane, incapacitated, laying the groundwork to justify whatever aggressive legal action he planned to take next. He was smart, but not as smart as he thought he was. 2 days later, Ryan showed up at my apartment building. I don't know how he got the address. Maybe he tailed Sue, or maybe he paid a private investigator. But there he was, knocking on my door on a Sunday morning. I looked through the peephole. He looked awful. Pale, dark circles under his eyes, visibly thinner. The polo shirt he was wearing was wrinkled. I didn't open the door right away. I let him knock 3 more times. Then, calmly, I undid the deadbolt. "Mom." His voice broke. "Thank God you're okay." I didn't return the hug he tried to give me. I stepped aside and let him in. My apartment was small but pristine, clean, organized, fresh flowers on the kitchen island. A completely different universe from that storage closet he kept me in. Ryan looked around, his eyes wide. "You live here?" "Yes. It's mine. Paid for with my own money." "But how? Where did you get the money for?" "Sit down, Ryan." He sat on the small sofa. I remained standing. I wasn't going to surrender the psychological advantage of height. "What do you want, Ryan?" "I came to ask for your forgiveness." A single tear rolled down his cheek. "I know we messed up. I know we treated you badly. Jess was just so stressed with work, with the house expenses, and I was under a lot of pressure at my firm. We never meant to hurt you." What a performance. Almost convincing. And the mop was a horrible mistake. Jess has cried 1,000 times over it. "She's destroyed, Mom. She's going to therapy. She knows she was wrong." Mom, please. We're family. We can't end up like this." I sat in the armchair across from him. I looked into his eyes, the same eyes that used to look at me with adoration when he was a little boy, now reflecting nothing but desperate calculation. "Tell me the truth, Ryan. Why are you really here?" He broke eye contact, staring at the floor. "We're in trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "The house. We're going to lose it. The bank gave us an ultimatum. If we don't pay $350,000 in arrears and penalties in the next 3 weeks, they execute the foreclosure. We'll be on the street." There it was. The naked truth. "And what do you expect me to do?" Ryan looked up, and in his eyes I saw something that broke my heart all over again. Not remorse. Hope. The hope that I would bail him out. "Mom, I know Dad left you money. Sterling wouldn't tell me how much, but I know it's a lot. We just need a loan. I swear to God, we'll pay you back the second we get back on our feet. And if I don't lend it to you?" "Mom, we're your family. I'm your only son. My only son handed me a mop on Christmas Eve and told me I was a freeloader. I already apologized for that. Your apology doesn't erase the pain, Ryan." He stood up, frantic. "Then what do you want? You want me to get on my knees? You want me to beg? I'll do whatever it takes, but please, help us." I stared at him for a long moment, and then I did something that surprised me. I pretended to hesitate. "I don't know, Ryan. That's a lot of money." I know. We'll pay it back with interest, whatever you want. I need to think about it." "How much time do you need?" "Give me a week." His face lit up. He actually believed he had played me. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to us." I walked him to the door. Before leaving, he tried to hug me again. This time I let him, but I felt the hug for exactly what it was, the trap of a desperate hunter. The second he was gone, I called Mr. Sterling. "Arthur, Ryan came to ask me for money. You told him no, obviously." I told him I'd think about it. Silence on the other end of the line. Eleanor. What are you plotting? I am going to give them exactly what they want, but on my terms. What kind of terms? The ironclad kind. The next few days were an exercise in meticulous preparation. Mr. Sterling and I drafted a document, a formal family promissory note, with highly specific, aggressive clauses. We also finalized the new, bulletproof will, backed by the medical certificates proving my absolute legal competency. Then, I did something else. Something that hurt, but was entirely necessary. I hired a private investigator. I need to know everything about my son and his wife's financial situation, I told the PI, a rugged guy in his 50s who looked like nothing surprised him anymore. Debts, expenses, bank movements, everything you can legally obtain. Looking for anything specific, ma'am. I want to know if they've lied to me about their hardship, if there's hidden spending, anything that contradicts their sob story. The investigator delivered the dossier 5 days later, and it confirmed everything I suspected. Jessica had spent $25,000 in the last 2 months alone on cosmetic treatments, designer bags, and weekend getaways. Ryan had financed an $18,000 Indian motorcycle just 3 months ago, which he was hiding in a friend's garage. They had completely remodeled their master bathroom with high-end fixtures, all while telling me they were too broke to buy me new shoes. I put the dossier in a manila folder and waited. On Saturday, Ryan came back, this time with Jessica. She was wearing a simple, understated dress, no makeup, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail, doing her best to look humble and broken. Eleanor, she said, her voice trembling, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable, but I swear I've changed. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I just ask for one chance to prove it to you. What an actress. Sit down, I said. They sat together on the sofa, holding hands, the perfect suburban couple in crisis. I pulled out the legal documents Mr. Sterling had drafted. If I'm going to lend you this money, it will be under my conditions. Anything you want, Ryan said instantly. First, this is a loan, not a gift. You will sign a legally binding promissory note. You have 2 years to pay it back, with a 10% annual interest rate. Done. Second, as collateral, the deed to the house will be transferred into my name until the debt is paid in full. Ryan went pale. Mom, that's what happens when you borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars, Ryan. It's called collateral. Jessica squeezed his hand. It's fine, Ryan. It's better than losing it to the bank. Third, I continued, sliding the paper toward them. If you miss a single payment, I take full physical possession of the property immediately, with no right to appeal. Mom, that's brutal. Life is brutal, son. Do you accept or not? They looked at each other. Jessica nodded first. Ryan, his jaw clenched tight, nodded too. We accept. Then sign. They signed every page, initialed every clause. Mr. Sterling had come over to act as a witness, along with Sue and Gary. When it was done, Ryan looked at me with watery eyes. Thank you, Mom. You don't know what this means. Oh, believe me, I said, offering a smile they didn't quite understand. I know exactly what it means. I wired them the $350,000. They walked out of my apartment that afternoon flooded with relief, fully believing they had won. What they didn't know was that they had just walked right into the perfect trap. Because buried in that contract was a clause they hadn't read carefully enough. A clause that read, should it be proven that the debtors falsified their financial hardship or engaged in luxury, frivolous spending during the period surrounding this loan, the entire balance becomes due immediately. And I had a PI's dossier proving exactly that. Sue looked at me after they left. Sister, what did you just do? I gave them enough rope to hang themselves. And now, I wait. And when the time is right, I kick the chair out from under them. Ryan and Jessica had no idea that my vengeance wouldn't be loud or violent. It would be served ice cold, legally binding, and devastatingly effective. And when the bill came due, no one was going to save them. 6 weeks passed. 6 weeks where Ryan and Jessica caught up on their mortgage, breathed a sigh of relief, and went back to pretending their perfect suburban world was intact. 6 weeks where I dedicated myself to entirely reconstructing my life. I signed up for yoga classes. I started taking morning walks around the neighborhood lake. I picked up my old passion for painting something I had abandoned the day I got married. I bought canvases, oil paints, and easels. My little apartment filled with vibrant colors. Helen, my friend from the book club, became my confidant. We grabbed coffee every Thursday, and she listened to me without an ounce of judgment. "You look different, Eleanor," she told me one afternoon. "Like you dropped 100 pounds of dead weight." I dropped several hundred pounds. About $4.7 million worth, to be exact. She let out a laugh so loud the whole coffee shop turned to look at us. But it wasn't all peace and quiet. Ryan called me once a week, always using that fake, sickly sweet tone of a repentant son. "Mom, how are you? I miss you so much." "I'm fine, Ryan. When are you coming to visit us? The house feels so empty without you." Lies. All lies. Because my private investigator was still sending me weekly updates, and through those reports, I saw the truth. Jessica had posted a new photo on her Instagram. It was her brand new walk-in closet, my old room. The storage pantry where I slept for 3 years was now lined with custom shelving, holding designer shoes and Prada bags. The caption read, "Finally finished the remodel. Sometimes, making space for yourself is the best self-care." The comments were predictable. "Looks amazing, babe, you deserve it." Someone asked, "What happened to your mother-in-law?" Jessica replied, "She's much happier where she is now." It was a win-win for everyone. I took screenshots of everything. It was mid-February when I decided it was time. Time for the final reveal. I called Ryan. "Son, I'd like to take you and Jessica out to dinner." He sounded stunned. "Really, Mom?" "Really. I think it's time we talk about the future, as a family. We'd love that." "When?" "This Saturday. At the Capitol Grill downtown, 8 p.m. We'll be there." "Thank you, Mom. This means everything." I hung up and called Mr. Sterling. "Arthur, I need you at the Capitol Grill this Saturday at 8. Sit discreetly at a separate table. I need a witness." "Is something going to happen?" "The truth is going to happen." I arrived at the steakhouse 30 minutes early. It was elegant, but not overly flashy white tablecloths, dim lighting, a jazz pianist playing in the corner. I had reserved a booth in the back, private but visible. Mr. Sterling was already there, sitting 2 tables away, nursing a bourbon and reading the Wall Street Journal. He gave me a barely perceptible nod. Ryan and Jessica arrived right on time. She was wearing a sleek black dress and minimal makeup. He wore a navy sport coat. They were trying very hard to look like respectable, reformed adults. "Mom," Ryan kissed my cheek. "You look incredible." "Thank you. Sit down." We ordered. I ordered the sea bass. They, of course, ordered the most expensive dry-aged ribeyes on the menu. During the appetizers, we made small talk. The weather, the news. Jessica asked about my apartment with feigned interest. "Is it comfortable where you are, Eleanor?" "Very. It's small, but it's mine. I can finally breathe." She caught the emphasis on the word breathe and quickly looked down at her water glass. When the main courses arrived, I decided the appetizers were over. "Ryan, I want to talk about the loan." He tensed up immediately. "Of course, Mom. Everything's going great. We're going to start making the interest payments in March, exactly like we agreed." "I'm glad to hear that. But there is something we need to clear up first." I pulled a manila folder out of my tote bag and placed it on the table. Jessica eyed it suspiciously. "What's that?" Information. Information I obtained completely legally. I opened the folder. I pulled out the PI's reports, the Instagram screenshots, the credit card statements the investigator had legally sourced. "Ryan, do you remember telling me you were bankrupt? That you couldn't even afford groceries?" "Mom, I never said you said it. You told me you were desperate, that the mortgage was drowning you, that you had sacrificed everything just to survive." I slid the printed photo of the walk-in closet across the table. "Is this sacrificing everything?" Jessica went sheet white. That's an old picture. It's time-stamped 3 weeks ago, right after I wired you the money." I slid more photos across the table. Jessica getting a $400 facial at a day spa. Ryan at a luxury sushi restaurant with his buddies. Receipts for the Indian motorcycle. You spent $25,000 on luxury garbage in the last 2 months while looking me in the eye and telling me you were starving. Ryan tried to grab the papers. I slammed my hand down over his. Don't touch them. These are copies. The originals are locked in my attorney's safe. Mom, this is a huge misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I let my voice rise just enough for the neighboring tables to glance over. A misunderstanding is forgetting a birthday. Lying to my face to steal my money is fraud. Treating me like a stray dog while you lived like royalty is abuse. Jessica tried to stand up. I'm not sitting here for this. Sit down, Jessica, I commanded. Something in my tone made her freeze and drop back into the booth. I'm going to tell you something I should have told you years ago. You didn't need me. You used me. You kept me for 3 years to scrub your floors, cook your meals, and swallow your insults. And when I was no longer useful as a maid, you decided I'd be useful as a bank. Mom, please, I'm not finished, Ryan. I stood up, towering over the booth. Do you know what it feels like to hear your own son say you eat for free? To be treated like a parasite? I gave you life. I worked double shifts to put you through college. And you repaid me with a mop. Tears finally spilled over my eyelashes, but they weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of pure, liberated rage. That mop was the greatest gift you ever gave me, because it woke me up. It made me realize my worth and exactly how little you value me. Ryan's face was flushed, dark red. If you hate us so much, why the hell did you lend us the money? I smiled. It was a smile that made Jessica physically flinch. Because I wanted to teach you a lesson. And because I wanted your signatures on a contract that puts you exactly where I want you. What are you talking about? I pulled out the promissory note they had signed. I pointed to the fine print at the bottom of page 3. Read this. Read it out loud so there's absolutely no confusion. Ryan took the paper, his hands trembling violently. He read, should it be proven that the debtors falsified their financial hardship or engaged in luxury spending during the loan period, the principal balance becomes immediately due in full, subject to a 30% penalty surcharge. The silence at the table was deafening. That means, I whispered, leaning in close, that you now owe me $455,000, payable in 30 days. Or I take the house. Jessica let out a choked gasp. You can't do that! I absolutely can. You signed it. It's legally binding, and I have a mountain of evidence proving you lied about your finances. I sat back down and folded my hands neatly on the table. But you know what the saddest part of all this is? It's not that you lied to me. It's not that you used me. It's that I was actually willing to forgive you. When you came to my apartment begging, I wanted to believe that my son still had a shred of the decency I raised him with. But you haven't changed. You kept lying. You kept spending. You kept disrespecting me. Ryan opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a finger. I'm still not finished. There's one more thing. I took a sip of my water. Do you remember going to see Arthur Sterling a few months ago? When you tried to dig into my trust funds? Ryan looked like he was going to vomit. How do you know about that? Because Arthur Sterling is my lawyer, Ryan. He told me everything. He told me how you tried to slap a conservatorship on me, how you tried to declare me legally incompetent so you could steal my estate, how you've been plotting this since before Christmas. Mom, I was just worried about your mental health. Liar. My voice cut through the dining room. You were worried about your mortgage. You were worried about keeping up your pathetic country club lifestyle on my dime. Jessica stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. I am not staying here to be insulted. Let's go, Ryan. Sit down, Mrs. Mitchell, a deep voice said from behind her. Mr. Sterling stepped up to our table, his leather briefcase in hand. Who the hell are you? She snapped. I am Arthur Sterling, legal counsel to Eleanor Mitchell. And I have copies of the documents proving every single allegation she just made. If you attempt to leave this restaurant without resolving this, I will file the default notices with the county courthouse first thing Monday morning. Jessica collapsed back into the booth, utterly defeated. Ryan looked at me with a mix of hatred and sheer terror. What do you want, Mom? You want the money? You want revenge? You want to see us sleeping on the street? I want you to learn, I said, my voice dropping back to a steady, unbreakable calm. I want you to understand that love is not a transaction. I want you to know what it feels like to have your back against the wall, completely out of options, depending entirely on the mercy of the person you abused. I stood up and picked up my bag. You have 30 days to pay me $455,000. If you don't, I take the house, and believe me, I won't lose a second of sleep over it. But we don't have that kind of money, Ryan whispered, his voice cracking. There's no way we can get that in 30 days. Then perhaps you should have thought about that before you handed me a mop. I walked toward the exit, Mr. Sterling right beside me. Behind us, I heard Jessica start to sob, and Ryan's broken voice calling out, "Mom, please." I didn't turn around, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to save anyone but myself. But the following days proved that I had underestimated just how low they were willing to go, and when I saw their final, desperate move, I knew the war was truly on. The week after that dinner was a whirlwind of chaos. Ryan called me 63 times. I changed my phone number. Then he started sending emails. I blocked his address. He showed up at my apartment building. I told the doorman to threaten him with trespassing. But where Ryan failed, Jessica became dangerous. A week later, at 11 p.m., Sue called me, frantic. "Eleanor, you have to see this." "What now?" Jessica made a video. A crying video on TikTok. It already has 50,000 views. She texted me the link. I opened it, my stomach turning. There was Jessica, sitting in her living room, her eyes red and puffy, mascara running down her cheeks, speaking through theatrical sobs. "Hey guys, I never thought I'd have to make a video like this, but I need someone to hear me. My mother-in-law, who we took in for 3 years, is trying to destroy us. She gave us a loan to save our house, and now she's using an abusive, hidden loophole to foreclose on us. She says we lied to her, but we were just trying to survive. My husband is devastated. I'm in therapy. We're going to be homeless. If anyone knows a pro bono lawyer in the Dallas area who handles family extortion, please DM me. We have nowhere else to go. Help." The comments were a mess. "OMG, that's elder abuse in reverse. Sue that old bat." But there were others calling her out. "Wait, aren't you the mop girl? Something isn't adding up. If you signed a contract, that's on you. Post the receipts." I lay back on my bed, taking a deep breath. Jessica was playing the ultimate victim card to the court of public opinion. She was cunning, but I had learned to be a master chess player. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Sterling's office. "Arthur, I want to end this. Properly. Fully legal, transparent, and irrefutable. What's your play, Eleanor?" "I want to make them one final offer. A real chance to save themselves. But I want it on video, with a notary and a court reporter present. So when the time comes to take the keys to that house, no one can ever say I didn't give them a way out." Mr. Sterling smiled broadly. "You're a lot more dangerous than they realize." We set it up meticulously, a formal mediation at the law firm. Everything recorded on camera. We sent a legal summons to Ryan via certified mail, mandatory meeting, Friday, 10 a.m., at the offices of Arthur Sterling. Failure to appear will result in immediate execution of the foreclosure clause. They arrived right on time, but they looked like ghosts. Ryan was gaunt, his eyes hollow. Jessica had her hair in a messy bun, wearing a plain gray sweater, abandoning the glamour to look as pathetic as possible. The conference room was intimidating. A long mahogany table, leather chairs, a video camera on a tripod, and a licensed court reporter sitting in the corner, fingers poised over her stenotype machine. "Good morning," I said as they walked in. They didn't reply. They just sank into the chairs across from me. Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. "We are here to discuss the outstanding debt of $455,000 owed by Ryan and Jessica Mitchell to Eleanor Mitchell. This meeting is being recorded and transcribed for legal purposes. Any objections?" "No," Ryan muttered. "Very well, Mrs. Mitchell, you have the floor." I leaned forward, clasping my hands on the table. "Ryan, Jessica, I brought you here to offer you something you absolutely do not deserve, but I'm doing it for my own peace of mind. I'm giving you one last chance." Ryan looked up, a glimmer of desperate hope in his eyes. "What kind of chance?" "You owe $455,000. I know you can't pay it, so here is my offer. I am going to waive the 30% penalty. The debt drops back to the original $350,000. Mom, we still can't. Let me finish. You have exactly 90 days, 3 months to secure a loan, refinance, or come up with that $350,000. If you do, the deed transfers back to you, the debt is cleared, and I disappear from your lives forever. 3 months is still impossible with our credit, Jessica said, her voice shaking. Then listen to the second part, I said coldly. If you cannot pay the $350,000 in 90 days, you agree to sign the house over to me without a legal fight. No bankruptcy tricks, no squatting. You hand over the keys. In exchange, I will not throw you on the street. I will give you 6 extra months to live there rent-free while you figure out your lives, and I will give you $4,000 a month in cash during that time so you can secure a new apartment. Ryan stared at me, completely stunned. Why would you do that? Because despite everything, Ryan, you are still my son, and because I need you to understand the difference between revenge and justice. This is justice. I slid the new contract across the table. This is the modified agreement. If you sign it, you get 90 days to try and save your house. If you fail, you get a soft landing. But the house becomes mine. Jessica let out a stifled sob. Why are you doing this? Because I am nothing like you. I do not enjoy watching people suffer. But I will also never let anyone walk all over me again. Mr. Sterling tapped the document. You have 2 choices. Sign this extremely generous offer, or we go to court, where you will lose the house immediately, you will be evicted by the sheriff, and you will get absolutely nothing. Ryan picked up the pen. He read the document line by line. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring the ink. We aren't going to get the money in 3 months, Mom. You know that. I do. That's why I'm giving you the parachute. But the house, Ryan, the house is gone. That is the consequence of your actions. The house where we were going to raise our kids, Jessica whispered. I looked right at her. The house where you locked me in a storage closet, where you humiliated me, where you planned your new closet while I was still sleeping in it. Do not talk to me about family, Jessica. You don't know the meaning of the word. She looked down, utterly destroyed. Ryan signed the paper. His hand shook so badly he could barely form the letters. Jessica signed next. The court reporter stamped it. Done, Mr. Sterling said. The clock starts today. You have until June 10th. If the funds are not cleared by 5 p.m. on that day, the title transfers to Eleanor Mitchell. Ryan stood up. He looked at me with a mix of profound grief and something that almost looked like respect. You know what the worst part of all this is, Mom? What? That you were right. About everything. And I was just too blind to see it. You weren't blind, Ryan. You were just selfish. They walked out of the conference room in absolute silence. When the heavy door clicked shut, Mr. Sterling leaned back in his chair and exhaled. You were generous, Eleanor. I was fair. And now, I live my life. The next 3 months were the most peaceful I had experienced in decades. I immersed myself in my art classes. My instructor, Matt, told me I had a natural gift for landscapes. I sold my first painting at a local gallery showcase for $300. It wasn't about the money. The feeling of creating something with my own hands that someone else found beautiful was intoxicating. Helen and I took a week-long trip to Santa Fe. We ate incredible food, bought turquoise jewelry, and walked through the historic adobe streets. I felt young again. Sue came over every Sunday for brunch. We cooked, laughed, and remembered our childhood. I haven't seen you smile like this since before Tom got sick, she told me one morning. I finally feel like myself again, Sue. Ryan emailed me twice during those 3 months. Brief, polite updates. Mom, we've been saving everything we can, but it's hard. I just want you to know we're trying. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. On June 9th, one day before the deadline, Mr. Sterling called me, Eleanor. Ryan just wired $350,000 into the escrow account. I froze. What? It's all there, plus the legal fees. The debt is fully cleared. How is that even possible? You'll have to ask him. I called Ryan. He answered on the first ring. Hello, Mom. Where did you get the money, Ryan? He let out a long, heavy sigh. We sold everything. The motorcycle, Jess's car, her jewelry, the designer bags. I took a 401k hardship withdrawal. We borrowed from friends, and we sold the walk-in closet materials to a contractor. Everything. It's all gone. Jessica agreed to that? Jessica is in real therapy now, Mom, not the Instagram version. When she realized we were actually going to lose the house, something inside her broke. Or maybe it finally fixed itself. We realized how much fake crap we were holding on to. There was a long silence on the line. Mom, I know the money doesn't erase what we did. I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I want you to know something. These last 3 months were the worst of my life, but they were also the most important. Because I finally understood what it feels like to be completely desperate, without options, relying on someone else's mercy. I finally understood what I put you through for 3 years. Tears pricked my eyes. Ryan, I don't expect you to ask for forgiveness. I just hope that someday, when you look in the mirror, you don't feel ashamed of the man staring back. He choked on a sob and hung up before he completely broke down. And so, we reached the end of the story. But there was still the true closure, the moment I had to decide what to do with everything I had won and everything I had lost. 3 months later, it was September. The Texas heat was finally breaking, leaving crisp mornings in its wake. I was sitting on my balcony, drinking coffee and painting a canvas, a memory from the Santa Fe trip. The warm ochre and terracotta colors brought me peace. My phone buzzed. It was Arthur Sterling. Good morning, Eleanor. Do you have some time today? There's a development. Did something happen? Nothing bad. I just need you to come to the office. I arrived an hour later. Arthur was waiting with a mysterious smile and a thick envelope on his desk. Sit down. I have news. What kind of news? Ryan and Jessica have been depositing money into a trust account I manage. $500 a week, every week, for the last 3 months. They labeled it good faith restitution. I was speechless. Why would they do that? The debt is paid. I think they actually changed, Eleanor. Or at least, they are desperately trying to. Ryan asked me to give you this. He handed me the envelope. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter. Ryan's handwriting, the letters I had taught him to trace when he was 6 years old. Mom, I know a letter doesn't erase 3 years of abuse. I know money doesn't buy forgiveness. But I need you to read this, even if you never speak to me again. Jess and I sold the house. Yes, even though we paid off the loan and saved it, we decided to list it. We couldn't keep living in a place that represented everything we did wrong. Every room was a ghost. The dining room where we made you eat alone. The living room you weren't allowed to sit in. That closet where we kept you like you were nothing. We sold the house for $1.2 million. We paid off the $650K mortgage to the bank, and with some of the equity that was left, we did something that I hope makes you feel, I don't know if proud is the word, but maybe less disappointed. We donated $350,000 to a domestic violence and elder abuse shelter downtown. It's a restricted grant in your name. They renamed their senior wing Eleanor House. We bought a small, 2-bedroom condo near the airport. No luxury finishes, no HOA. We're learning to live with less. And you know what we discovered? We're actually happier. Jess got a job. She deleted all her social media. She bakes pies and sells them at the local farmer's market. She's actually really good at it. I'm still at the firm, but I save every penny now. We have 0 debt, Mom. I will never stop regretting what I did. Every night before I go to sleep, I see that mop. I see your face when we handed it to you. I see how we broke you, and it hurts so much I wish I could turn back time, but I can't. All I can do is try to be a better man. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking that someday, if we cross paths on the street, you don't cross to the other side. With love and eternal shame, Ryan. Tears were streaming down my face, completely out of my control. Arthur passed me a box of tissues in silence. Is it true? About the shelter? I asked, my voice cracking. Completely true. I handled the legal transfer of the donation. The wing is already operational. It houses 15 elderly individuals who were rescued from abusive family situations. I covered my mouth with my hands. Eleanor House. Your name is attached to something beautiful, Eleanor. Something born from pain, but transformed into hope for others. I sat in silence for a long time, processing, feeling the weight of the last 4 years settling into a quiet resolve. What do you want to do? Arthur asked gently. He's not demanding to see you. He just wanted you to know. I folded the letter carefully. I need to think. I walked out of the office with the letter in my purse. I walked aimlessly through downtown Dallas. I passed the arts district, the food trucks, the parks where Tom and I used to walk when we were young and broke. I sat on a bench under a massive oak tree. I watched pigeons fighting over crumbs, young couples taking selfies, kids running with balloons. And then, I knew exactly what I had to do. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, I stood in front of the building where Ryan now lived. It was a modest, garden-style condo complex built in the 80s. No gates, no security guard. I pressed the buzzer for Unit 3B. Jessica's voice came through the intercom, sounding nervous. "Who is it? It's Eleanor." Silence. Then the loud buzz of the door unlocking. I walked up the exterior stairs slowly. My heart was pounding, but not out of fear. It was something else. Cautious hope. The door to their apartment was cracked open. I walked in. The place was small but spotless. Simple IKEA furniture, no flashy brands. It smelled like fresh coffee and cinnamon baking in the oven. Ryan was standing in the middle of the living room, his eyes already red. Jessica stood slightly behind him, wringing her hands, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Mom," Ryan whispered. I didn't run to hug him. I wasn't ready for that yet. But I didn't stay standing by the door, either. "I read your letter," I said. "I didn't expect you to come. I came because I need to say something you need to hear, and I need to say it." I sat down on their cheap fabric sofa. They remained standing, like children awaiting a verdict. "What you did to me was unforgivable, and I am going to carry that scar for the rest of my life. I cannot just erase 3 years of humiliation. That's not how human memory works." Ryan nodded, swallowing hard. "But," I continued, "I also cannot carry this hatred anymore, because hatred is heavy, Ryan. It's just as heavy as sadness. And I am done carrying heavy things." "What does that mean?" Jessica asked, her voice shaking. "It means I will not forget. But I am going to try to forgive. Not for you, for me, because I deserve peace." I stood up. "I saw what you did with the shelter. I saw the weekly deposits. I see that you sold the house even when you didn't have to, and I see that you are, at the very least, trying to change. Mom." I held up a hand. "I don't want you to say anything right now. Just listen. I am going to give you my new phone number. I will allow you to text me. I don't promise I'll always reply right away. I don't promise Sunday dinners. But I am going to leave the door cracked open. Just cracked. If you truly have changed, then with time, maybe that door will open wider." Ryan collapsed onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands, sobbing openly. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Don't thank me. This isn't a gift. It's an opportunity, and you have to earn it every single day. If you ever lie to me again, if you ever disrespect me again, that door slams shut forever. Understood?" They both nodded frantically. I walked toward the front door. With my hand on the knob, I paused. "One more thing. That shelter. Eleanor House. I want to volunteer there." Ryan looked up, stunned. "Really? Really? If my pain can help someone else survive theirs, then it wasn't all for nothing." I walked out of the apartment, went down the stairs, and when I hit the sidewalk, I took a deep breath of the autumn air. It wasn't pure, unadulterated happiness I felt. It was more complex than that. It was peace mixed with grief, hope tempered by caution, forgiveness grounded in memory. It was simply the act of moving forward. 6 months later, I was at Eleanor House, sitting with a 5-year-old woman who had just arrived. Her name was Mary. Ironically, her own children had kept her locked in a basement, feeding her scraps. "I don't know if I can ever recover from this," she told me, her voice trembling like a dry leaf. I reached out and took her frail hand in mine. "I didn't know if I could either, Mary. But look where I am now. You can do this. I understand your pain, and I know you can survive it." Her eyes filled with tears, but behind them, I saw it. The first spark of hope. That night, back at my apartment, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. Sue had come over earlier, Helen too. We had eaten dinner, laughed until our stomachs hurt, and finalized our plans to take a trip to Charleston in December. My phone buzzed on the table. It was a text from Ryan. It wasn't the first. Over the last 6 months, he had texted me once a week, short, respectful messages, never asking for anything, just sharing updates. Mom, Jess baked an apple pie using your old recipe today. It came out perfect. We were thinking about you, sending you love. This time, for the first time in months, I typed a reply. I'm glad the recipe worked out. Take care of yourselves. It was a small thing, but it was a step, because I had learned the most profound lesson through all of this. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness means deciding that the past no longer dictates your present. It means letting go, not for the person who hurt you, but for yourself. And I had finally let go. I looked up at the stars. I thought of Tom. I thought of how he had always shown me that true love never humiliates, never diminishes, never tramples on you. Thank you, my love, I whispered to the night sky. Thank you for showing me my worth, for leaving me the armor to defend myself, for loving me even when you were gone. A shooting star streaked across the dark Texas sky. I made a wish. I didn't wish for more money. I didn't wish for revenge. I didn't wish to turn back time. I wished for peace. Peace for myself, for everyone who had been abused the way I was, for everyone who had been made to feel like they were nothing. And sitting there on my balcony, with my hot tea, my new friends, my work at the shelter, my paintings on the walls, and my reclaimed independence, I realized that my wish had already come true. Final reflection. If you are listening to this story and you see yourself in it, I need you to know something. You matter. You have value. It doesn't matter how long you've been enduring the abuse. It doesn't matter how many times they've told you that you are a burden. It doesn't matter how many metaphorical mops they have handed you, you are worthy. And it is never, ever too late to reclaim your dignity. Because true wealth isn't about the money in your bank account. It's about what you refuse to let others take from you. Your self-respect, your dignity, your absolute right to be treated like a human being. I was incredibly fortunate to have the financial resources to fight back, but my real strength didn't come from the millions of dollars. It came from the realization that I deserved better. And that realization costs absolutely nothing. It is available to you right now. If you are in a similar situation, reach out for help. Talk to someone you trust. Research your legal rights. Call Adult Protective Services or a local shelter. Do not stay silent, thinking you have no options. There is always a way out. And if you feel invisible today, remember this: the strongest people on earth are the ones who learn how to shine again after someone else tried to snuff them out. My light was put out for 3 years, but today I shine entirely on my own. And you can too. My name is Eleanor Mitchell. I am 69 years old, and this is the story of how a Christmas mop became the greatest gift I ever received because it woke me up. Sometimes, the darkest chapter of your life is just the prologue to your greatest victory. You just have to find the courage to turn the page. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think, or if you know someone who desperately needs to hear it, please share it. Leave a comment letting us know what state or country you're listening from. Hit the like button if you believe that respecting our elders is absolutely non-negotiable, and subscribe to keep hearing real stories of life, resilience, and reclaimed dignity. Because everyone deserves to be treated with love. But most importantly, we all deserve to love ourselves. Until the next story. And remember, it is never too late to start over.